Welcome everyone to the Virtual College Exploration Program in partnership with Colleges That Change Lives. Before I pass it over to the presenters, I'm going to catch us up with some housekeeping items in case you haven't heard these before. We do have more sessions with Colleges That Change Lives through tomorrow evening. So if you're interested in continuing to connect with other colleges and universities across the nation, feel free to check back on our website. And when you do register for these sessions, you get a barcode in that confirmation email, but know that that barcode is not necessary for any of the virtual events that you participate in. We are recording all of these sessions and posting them to our website shortly after the session concludes. So whether you want to rewatch one you participated live in or watch one you may have missed, just check back on our website. And finally, you will notice that you will see and hear the presenters. Unfortunately, they cannot see or hear you all. This is webinar style format. So any questions you have throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the Q&A box and they will do their best to address those throughout the session. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Sonia to get us started with an intro. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jen. My name is Sonia Wu. I'm Director of Admissions at New College of Florida, the Public Honors College of the state of Florida. And I'm here with my colleague, Sharon Alcock, who is Associate Director of Admissions. We've been working together for a number of years now. And for those of you to whom it matters, I am a New College graduate, and I've been working at the college for 31 years now. So we'll go ahead and get started and tell you a little bit about the campus. We're located in Sarasota, Florida. We are right on the bay in Sarasota, just off the Gulf of Mexico. And as the Public Honors College of the state, it is something that is very special within the public university system. In Sarasota, we have a really fortunate location on the waterfront next to the Ringling Museum of Art, very close to downtown, which has the Marie Selby Botanical Gardens, and not that far from Marine Lab, where a number of our students and faculty do some research with the animals there and also do some work with rehab over there with their turtles. Sarasota is about an hour south of Tampa. We're right on the west coast of Florida. So the special thing that is kind of new this year, New College has a brand new focus to make sure that students are thinking right from day one about what they're going to do after college. We want them to do things that are exciting to them while they're in school so that their learning is very individualized, but we also want them to be thinking consciously about what they enjoy doing and how they can use their academic program to prepare for what they're going to do later on. And part of the important part of this is that they will be doing work that's very rigorous. We want them to learn about the foundation of study in their area of concentration so that they're able to use good research techniques, so that they learn good communication and collaboration skills. And we want them to be working with people who may be doing what they're interested in going on to do. So if they're thinking, I might like to go on to a career in law, I might like to go into business and so forth. The curriculum includes aspects of those things. We have an MCAT prep class for credit for students who are thinking of going on to medical school. We also have a career center that will assign you a career coach from day one to help you start asking yourself those questions about what's exciting to you, what do you enjoy doing, what do you think you might be enjoying doing later on? So can they connect you with one of the mentors through the alumni network, or can they work with you and your advisor to design an internship that you can build into your program for credit? And this is all sort of to help you make more conscious decisions about your academic program, both for what you love to do right now and what we hope you will grow to love to do for your career afterward, whether or not that involves going on to some sort of an advanced degree program. So our classes tend to be fairly small. Our student-faculty ratio is 7:1, and our average class size is 11. There are, of course, classes that are bigger than that, but we find that our students seem to work with our faculty best when they have a chance to focus on the things that are exciting to them to discuss. And discussion seems to happen best in smaller groups. And so one of the things that our students will do as they work with their faculty is they'll go to them and talk with them about topics they want to study that are not being taught in the classroom. So if they're thinking, what we did in class today was so exciting, but what I really want to do is focus on this. If they get permission from their faculty, they talk with them about how they can build it right into their program for credit, whether it's for a January independent study project or for a semester tutorial, or maybe later on for a topic for their senior capstone project. We want to make sure that they're getting a chance again to focus on those things that are most exciting to them to learn, because we feel that's a very important way to motivate them to make sure that they're doing their very best work in their field of study. One of the things that's unusual this year that we're just starting up is certificate programs. These are programs where you can gain a certificate that will be acknowledged on your new college transcript at graduation. They're specific to topics in business and research, and so there are 4 new ones for that. We also have a new thing coming up soon. It's not quite rolled out yet, but we're going to have a dual degree program with University of Florida, which is the giant flagship university of our state, where the student can earn a dual degree, a new college Bachelor of Arts, and a Bachelor of Science in Engineering with University of Florida. And we expect that that will be interesting, in particular to students who are interested in mathematics and physics, but perhaps also other topics. So we've got over 40 different fields of study to choose from. Most of them are full areas of concentration. Some of them are fields that you can combine with other fields in different ways, sort of like a minor, or in some cases as a joint concentration, or as a special program of study. The fields of study do tend to fall into the usual liberal arts and sciences categories, and we find sometimes that students also just will want to do something that's more broad-based. So if you're interested in doing something that maybe encompasses the natural sciences or the humanities or the social sciences, there's an opportunity to do that as well. And all students, when they choose a field of study and formalize that with their faculty, they choose some sort of a senior capstone experience to work on with them. So one of our most popular fields of study at New College, no big surprise, I'm sure, because we are right on the water, marine biology is just super popular. Environmental studies is also one of our popular fields of study. And it's one of our fields where students often are drawn through internships and grant applications that they write to consider going into that field right after graduation. So if there are things that you know that you'd like to do that are very place-based, like work in the marine sciences, we strongly recommend that you come and check us out. When we're open again for regular visits, that's something where you might consider coming down and seeing not just what's at New College and in our marine biology lab, but also at our local facilities. We have students, again, who do research down at Mote Marine Lab. We have students who do work up at the Clearwater Aquarium. And there may be certain things that you're interested in just kind of learning about different environments. There are a number of environments just around the state of Florida that you can look at. You can also consider possibilities of doing study out in the environment in different locations around the country. We're actually a member of Eco League, which is a collaboration of colleges that are in different locations. A couple of our students are up in Alaska this semester, and it gives you a chance to experience a different environment, experience some different resources, and get that kind of special difference to your resume for that. The structure of our program is kind of different from the rest of the state system and from most traditional universities. We do things through an academic contract system. So instead of just getting approval for your program, you'll talk with your faculty through contracts to register for your courses, make sure that you're taking the right kinds of things that you need for graduation, but also to design things for yourself that are specific to your own interests, beyond and above what we offer in terms of courses. So, every year we probably have 300 or so classroom courses that we're teaching, but then we'll have maybe 1,000 different individual and small group tutorials, which are kind of like courses that you create for yourself with your faculty's approval, and January independent projects. And we want to make sure that all along the way, you're getting the kind of feedback that helps you get where you want to go. So instead of giving you a grade for your course at the end of a semester, professors will write you performance evaluations. They'll tell you what your work was like. Here's what you did well. Here's what we covered. Here are things we recommend that you improve. So if it's something where you were maybe really quiet in class because you sort of felt like, oh, it's hard to speak up, they can give you tips for how you can improve your performance in terms of participating in discussion. Or if it's something where you need some help with organizing the ideas in your writing, we've got a really great writing resource center. If you need some help with your work in statistics, we have a quantitative resource center. We also have a great student success center that provides tremendous support to our students. So even though most students come to us with really strong skills, sometimes the independence that's expected of them in college can be a bit of a challenge. And so when you need help with things like, how do I take better notes so that I'm more efficient? Or how do I make sure that I'm getting all of my work done when everything seems to be due at different times and then clustering with big exams and papers at certain times of the semester? You can work with your faculty, you can work with the Student Success Center and with the Academic Resource Center to make sure that you're planning ahead for those things. And again, making really conscious decisions about your education so that you're not a bystander when it comes to your education. You're really an important player, and that's one of the ways that you can take responsibility for what you do and also provide additional support to your fellow students through special accountability contracts. The final requirement that everybody does is some sort of a senior capstone. In economics, they've added a new thing where students can do an internship as the primary part of their senior capstone. What many students will do, though, instead is a written thesis in their field of study that they defend in front of a group of faculty. And that's where you show, I've got the research skills, I've got the communication skills to do my own original piece of research and then defend it in front of people who are experts in their field. It's a great way to learn how to design a project that's your own and make sure that you're working on it bit by bit throughout the semester and the second semester of your final year, and making sure that you're making it as strong as you can so that instead of it just being, a large indigestible paper that's due at the end of the year, you're consulting with the faculty who will ask you questions and you're making it stronger as you go. And then your senior project, if you write a thesis, ends up in the New College database. We actually have past years on shelf in the library. So this is one of the photos from our marine biology lab. This is the room where they have most of the microscopes and small tanks. There's another section of the marine bio lab where they've got different large tanks so that students can learn about different ecosystems in Florida. A big thing with many of our students is making plans for going on to graduate school. New College is actually the top public college in the country for graduates who go on to the PhD. We do find that students come here with strong academic curiosity, and many of them are planning at least to go on for a master's. But it's very common for our students who are planning to go on to advanced study to be very, very well prepared for that level of independence and to have those research skills that really get them ready for that. And they have all kinds of resources while they're here as students. Lots of social resources, lots of academic resources. I mentioned that we're a member of ECHO League. We're also a member of the National Student Exchange, which has gives you access basically to hundreds of colleges, not only around the US, but also to some study abroad centers. We're also a member of the Cross College Alliance, which gives you access to coursework at the Ringling College of Art and Design, University of South Florida's Sarasota Manatee campus, State College of Florida, and also Florida State University next door to us, which runs the Ringling Museum. So some of our students, for example, in art history or anthropology, have a chance to do museum internships over there for New College credit. There are lots and lots of opportunities in the Sarasota Manatee area also for things like internships, research opportunities in a wide range of fields, whether it's in science, nature, conservation, things related to social justice, or the arts and humanities is a very thriving arts community. On campus, there are about 80 different clubs and activities. We don't have intercollegiate sports in the usual way. We're not Division I. We're not Division II. We're really not in a division, but we do have a sailing team that participates in regattas with other schools. And we have sort of a friendly competition going on with our cross-college alliance schools. So we usually have a special games day once or twice a year where students can get together and play flag football and dodgeball and do some fundraising for the local food bank and just have some fun, and also do some special social activities downtown. And then on campus, because we are a residential campus, we have different kinds of learning communities. The different dorms we have, some of them are shared rooms, some of them are suite style, some of them are apartment style, and some of them are specifically designated as living learning communities where students can cluster because of a common interest that they have in anything from global village for worldwide culture to outdoor adventures to music performance, sustainable environment, all sorts of things. And the students are the ones who work with the student affairs staff to decide every year what kind of theme they'll have for the living learning communities. This is one of our dorm rooms. This is in the residence halls that we call the Pei halls. They were designed by I.M. Pei, the same architect who designed the modern entrance to the Louvre, and also the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., which is one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. So in these rooms, usually there are 2 students per room. You'll see one of the beds here is lofted up above a desk. Some of them have a big window, some of them have a big window and a balcony like this. There are small balconies, there are lots of different arrangements in the residence halls. The longer you live on campus, of course, the more seniority you have about which residence halls you'll go into. And then here are costs of attendance. So we're public college, so the costs are different depending on whether you qualify for in-state residency or out-of-state residency. If you ever have questions about what does it take to be a Florida resident, just get in touch with us. You're welcome to contact me directly if you like. You can also talk with other folks on staff. But the Florida residents, usually they're working on a special scholarship program called Bright Futures. Out-of-state residents, we also have scholarships for in-state and out-of-state residents, whether it's something that they're bringing in from the outside or whether it's one of our own scholarship programs. So most of our own internal scholarships are done on an automatic consideration basis. Sometimes there is an application process in addition. And for the students who are applying for spring or fall 21, the application deadline for those will be in March. So this is graduation. Graduation we hold out on the bay under a great big tent. And so we usually graduate about 200 students per year. It's a very lively ceremony. Occasionally someone wears cap and gown, although more often you'll find somebody puts in a lot of time into designing a special costume. And it's a time to express your individuality. It's a time to enjoy with your friends. It's a time to appreciate your faculty. My favorite part of graduation is when they ask the graduates to stand and recognize their faculty. And the students just go wild because it's such an intense experience. It's such a personal experience. People feel a very deep sense of ownership of their new college experience. About applying, we have 2 applications that we use. We use the Common App, but we also have our own application. And we'll begin releasing decisions in mid-October, whether you're applying for spring 21 or fall 21. We will waive the application fee, and SAE's recommendations strictly optional, not secretly required, but really truly optional. But please be sure to include information in your application about your involvement, leadership, and responsibilities. Here we've indicated the middle 50% on grade point average. That's something that we recalculate to bring everyone to a common system. Exam scores for the SAT and ACT. We're a public college, so our state requires us to gather scores. We will let you know if that changes. And here are some of our students welcoming people for orientation, new student orientation. So our email address, our phone number, we would love to hear from you. And now I think we will open it up for questions.
You want to read one of them out, Sonia?
Oh, I can't see them.
Oh, you can't?
Do I go to the Q&A?
Yes, you should be able to.
Why is your director not more tech savvy?
No.
Okay, so let's see. I'm decided which is better. Just apply. I mean, I would say certainly it's good to apply by December 1. It doesn't matter though whether you are going between early action and rolling admissions. We will begin releasing decisions basically on a weekly basis starting mid-October. So if you just want to know sooner, I would say go ahead and apply sooner. Let's see. How would you do the senior capstone project if you're pursuing a degree in theater or music? Well, almost assuredly, there would be some sort of either a composition or performance, perhaps a play you've written, in either of those, I would say. One of our music students, I recall, not only did original compositions, but actually produced a recording of his work. In some cases, there's more of just an academic analytical component to it, but it depends on what your interests are. And most commonly, I would say in theater and music, their students are more likely to want to have some sort of performance in addition to the written part. Maybe you elaborate more on the types of marine biology internships you offer. So there are lots of ways to do internships in marine biology. And it's important to remember that sometimes internships are offered and sometimes they're created. So it's not always going to be the case that there's going to be a long list of internships and you just choose one. Sometimes what you do may not exist yet, and you're looking for a way to design it as part of your curriculum for credit. So, for example, we have in the area, there's Mote Marine Lab, but there's also not too far from the college north of us, there is the South Florida Museum, which has a manatee rehab program. And so they bring in injured manatees and they keep them until they're ready to release. And some of our students have done research with the manatees up there in sort of testing their ability to taste, their ability to distinguish between sweet, umami, salty, and so forth. And there's some interesting different kinds of things that people have done. Sometimes the work that people are looking to do is going to be more the sort of thing where it involves field research. Sometimes it's more lab research. Sometimes it's stuff that you're doing under a microscope. I mean, sometimes it's going to be more about public policy. So it's really a good idea, I think, to consider what types of things you might like to do. And then get in touch with one of our faculty. We're happy to facilitate that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Computer science and engineering. I mentioned the dual degree program that we're working on, and we are planning to roll that out, I believe, in spring 21. And that's the dual degree where a student can, over the course of 5 years, earn a Bachelor of Arts from New College and a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from University of Florida. And most likely a student going in that direction would be doing primarily math and physics, starting out with New College. In computer science, one of the things that's special is that when students are doing work with our computer science faculty, they're typically doing projects. It's not usually going to be the case where they're saying, okay, you need to learn this computer language and learn it from start to finish so that you can test on everything in the textbook. They want them actually to be using what they're learning. And so they'll have them actually working on projects and testing them out. What is New College doing during COVID-19? Well, I hope this will not be something that you have to worry about, certainly, but basically what we're doing, we are keeping the distance between people in the classroom as small as possible. Where there's an interest in students doing in-person classes, We are, in some cases, having to say this class meets Monday, Thursday. Half of you who want to do in person will meet on Monday. The other half will get to do it on Thursday. Some of our faculty, if they have health challenges, will be doing their work completely remotely. And in the residence halls, wherever possible, it is one person per room and not assigned for a roommate if both students don't want that. We have the luxury of a lot of rooms that are designed to be private rooms so that we can keep things as spaced out as possible there. It is required that everyone on campus wear a mask unless, like me, they're currently in a closed office. When I was out in the lobby, I was telling Sharon earlier, when I was out in the lobby, I wear a mask, even though I'm the only one in the building at the moment, because I can't risk the health of other people. Even when you're outdoors, you are expected to wear a mask. All of the cafeteria staff are masked, meals are plated, so nobody's like working with tongs in a salad bar or anything like that. And everybody is required, if they're coming to campus, to have a COVID test to make sure that they are not carrying the live virus. If they test positive and they want to come to campus, they have to go into quarantine first and show that they've been free of COVID for a certain amount of time. And then we'll do random tests every 2 weeks of 10% of the population. That's most of what we're doing. Our SAT score is mandatory. SAT or ACT at the moment, mandatory. If that changes, I assure you, we will let you know. We will get in touch with every single student in our database to alert them if the state changes its mind about that. What is your total enrollment? We're at about 700 students right now, and geographic diversity among our students. I believe, Sharon, is it about 20% of our students who are from other places than Florida?
Yes, 20% out of state and international.
Yeah. So we do recruit from other places, and we try to make it as affordable as possible because we know that the tuition's much higher for our out-of-state students. And we appreciate that you're willing to pay that tuition, but we know that it's more. And so, of course, the scholarships are much bigger for out-of-state students to try to even that out a bit. Our Florida students, usually the larger scholarships, our Four Winds scholarships, there are different kinds, but this is kind of our basic one. Florida residents, usually the larger scholarship is $3,500 a year. For an out-of-state student, because of the striking difference in tuition, the scholarship is $15,000 a year. Summer programs for high schoolers, not exactly, not at the moment. We do sometimes host Duke Tip programs, and some years, not this year, not a great year for summer programs, but some years we do have a special summer coral reef ecology course that we do in Honduras that is open to high schoolers, but it was not available this year. And then we have also had, not this year, but also a special program for our two local counties, Sarasota and Manatee, for students to be able to do work in the sciences so that they could get a chance to pick up research skills and collaboration skills.
I think that's it for now.
Oh,
wait,
no.
we have another one.
Go on. So do you have any recommendations for preparing for the more rigorous programs? Oh my gosh, absolutely. So when it comes to preparing for more rigorous programs, there are a couple of things I would strongly recommend. One is to realize that it's not just the content of your courses that's important. It's organizational skills and work ethic that will help to carry you through. And so if it's something where you maybe have a course that kind of comes easy to you because maybe you've got a natural flair for something like languages or you're really good at math or whatever it might be, sometimes if that's the case, it's very tempting to sort of leave the work till the last minute and get by on natural ability. But if you're willing to work hard at something, even if it comes easily to you, so that you focus more on understanding what you're doing instead of sort of putting in your time, I guess, I think that it's a really valuable skill to learn. For me, for example, one of the fields that I really enjoyed when I was a college student, I really enjoyed taking language courses. And at the beginning level, it came pretty easily to me because I had some background in that language coming in. But instead of saying, oh, well, I can remember the vocabulary, I know I can ace this vocabulary test on Friday, I would kind of focus more on practicing and getting to understand the language better instead of just figuring out what's the minimum I have to do well, and really enjoy doing it and really, really make the most of my time with the work. Are the film festivals that take place at New College made up of largely NCF student-made films, or are they just on campus with little or no? So there is a big film festival in Sarasota, which is not New College specifically, but we do have some films that are premiered at New College as well, and occasionally they are student-made films. One of the films recently from one of our, I think it was Miles Eitan, who was a 2018 graduate, and he went off and he just kind of recently did a Fulbright fellowship, I think in Taiwan. But he did this really neat documentary called Sincerely the Black Kids. And he was just very recently voted onto the New College Alumni Board. So we have some students who do film. We don't really teach film. I mean, this is something where students do tend to be kind of entrepreneurial, and they're willing to teach themselves and find people who will teach them how to make films. It's very interesting. One of the students who was here briefly before I came as a student ended up going into documentary filmmaking, not because he studied filmmaking at New College. At New College, he studied political science and international studies. And he really wanted to learn the background and how to tell a story. And he said, well, I could get someone to teach me how to make films. A little cavalier of him, perhaps, but that was something that was really important to him, to have that particular background. Another one of our grads who went into filmmaking, Josh Tickell, came here from the Louisiana School of Math, Science, and the Arts, and he did a bunch of his work here in the sciences. And he does a couple of things. He both makes documentary films. He's primarily interested in sort of health and science topics, and especially about how sort of our obsession with fossil fuels has landed us in a very bad place in terms of health and environment. But when Josh was a student, he worked with the faculty in chemistry on developing a fuel that was basically made out of old French fry oil. And so when they added lye and water to this old French fry oil, they reuse French fry oil a lot. But he made basically this incredibly efficient fuel that got great mileage. And then he drove around the country in this van and gave demonstrations about how you could make this very clean burning fuel. Primary byproduct was water vapor out of these very simple materials. And basically when people go into filmmaking, it's usually because they have some sort of a strong sense of purpose. They find the connections, they make the connections, they look for ways to build it into their New College program. The community around the school, and what do students enjoy in Sarasota? Okay, so the community around the school, we're sort of at the north end of Sarasota and the south end of Bradenton. So of course, there are very nice beaches in the area. We have some of the country's nicest beaches in our area, and that includes the beaches of Anna Maria Island, as well as Siesta Key in Sarasota. So those are very nice, and usually we have, students have, I think, free access to the local bus system. So if you don't have a car, it's very, very inexpensive to get around. There's a really nice farmers market down in Sarasota and also one up in Bradenton. Not going so well, of course, during COVID, but when things calm down again, then those will be special things that students can go off and do. We've got right next door to us, the Oslo Conservatory, which is part of the Ringling Museum complex. And they do special student rush tickets and other special like ticket arrangements where you can go and just for very little money be able to see all sorts of cool live theater. They also have special shows in the art museum and also in the Asian Art Museum. So that's really neat. Marie Selby Botanical Gardens. We're about, I think, 40 minutes, is it, Sharon, from Myakka State Park, which has that fancy walkway, which I have yet to dare try. It's a little higher than I think I'm inclined to try. And then there are like lots of little cafes. There are so many good restaurants in the area. We're about 20 minutes from the South Florida Museum Bishop Planetarium. And we're also not all that far from things that I confess don't interest me, like, you know, spring training and stuff like that. But it's Florida, so there's a lot of spring training if you like baseball, where you can go and watch sports. We're about an hour away from the big arena in Tampa, and we're about, I think, an hour and 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes from the Sun Dome up in Tampa, where most of the major concerts go through. And there's also in Sarasota, there's Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall, which gets a lot of neat concerts going through. Sharon, you actually live in Sarasota. I confess now you're far away. Maybe you could tell them a little more.
I just think there's everything here that you want, as far as you mentioned restaurants and just it's a nice, it's a small city, but there's a lot going on. So there'll always be something to do. And there's obviously a lot to do on campus, but if you want to explore Sarasota, it's very easy to do that. Yeah.
And then in terms of like extracurricular activities, because we're right on the water, it's really nice for folks who like water sports. So we have people we have a section of campus just a little bit south of here where they keep sailboats and kayaks. Sometimes students will row crew. There's usually at least once a year, there's a cardboard regatta where you basically have a chance to get very wet and not get very far in a boat made out of cardboard and duct tape. You know, people find ways to make fun basically of what they're going to do. We also have some clubs that are involved in social justice issues, clubs that are involved in sort of shared religion interests. We have some arts and crafts group. This is my time to plug the Origami Club, which is over 20 years old and meets every Monday at 5:30. But it's really open to almost anything you'd like to put together. I mean, whether it's something where you want to get together and do political action, or you just want to get together and watch movies because you have common interests in movies, or play dodgeball every Friday night out on the, playing field. I mean, it's really something where it's very open for students to start up different kinds of groups. Accommodations for autistic disabled students. How is the campus sensory-wise? Loud, busy, lots of smells, multiple people talking at once, echoey. We do have an area of the dorms typically that is assigned to be sort of quiet because there are some students who really need a lot of quiet to get their work done. Sensory-wise, I don't think of it typically as a loud campus. There are times when it's louder than others, but by and large, I would not say, except maybe Friday and Saturday night, not usually very loud. I don't know what to say about smells. And I think also, I don't know if this is helpful or not, I think also it tends not to be a campus where people do a lot of talking over each other, except maybe during like a town meeting. So that's my impression at any rate. Sharon, do you have anything to add for that?
I was going to say, we have a pretty large campus, so it's pretty widespread. So, you know, the only areas that might be a little more congregated would be, you know, the dining hall or things like that. But it's a pretty relaxed campus.
Yeah, and one of the things that you might want to consider is to get the impressions of other folks, and maybe check in with our Student Disability Services office, so that if you need the perspective of someone who maybe works with students who have autism, that it might be something where they would be able to offer you a more specific kind of perspective. And if you want us to help you get in touch with them, just let us know. We're glad to do that.
Are there any other questions? We have about 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
So I thought I'm just going to chat for a little bit if you don't mind. Oh, sure. We did get a question. Shoot, no chatting. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about research opportunities in sciences such as biology and genetics? Yeah, so there are lots of different ways to get involved in this. Sometimes they're on campus because we have different faculty who are involved in their own projects, because almost all of our faculty are doing research of their own. And so there might be opportunities for you to get involved with one of their grants or something like that. We also have students. It's funny because I'm always a little surprised that people are saying, can I get involved with faculty projects? Well, sure, but don't you have your own projects that you want to do? Because it's expected that all students will be doing their own projects of some kind. There are also lots of places in the area where you can do projects. So one of the places where my friend Chris did some work was at the Roskamp Institute. They do Alzheimer's research. And so he was doing work that was sort of neurobiology, chemistry related. And he was working there for so long, eventually they actually paid him to do the research that he was doing. And his senior thesis research that he was doing for his capstone project ended up based on the work that he was doing out at Roskamp. We also sometimes will have students who will do work, especially over the independent study period, when you have a bit more time that you don't have to split with time in class. So my friend Adam was able to get an internship up at Moffitt Cancer Center. So, and there are different ways to get involved in things in research settings, in hospital settings, lab settings, field research settings. I had a friend who did work with gopher tortoises, which are one of the, I guess they're not endangered anymore. I think they're threatened or vulnerable species in Florida. And she was able to do work with them as one of her projects. But it's important to think about what kinds of things are interesting to you, and then what's the best way to work it into your program. One of our students was able to arrange to spend time in China, which was her home country, and she was able to work on the Human Genome Project while she was out there. So, I mean, there are lots of different things that you can do. So you would talk with multiple people. You talk with your faculty, absolutely. Your faculty are key to what you would end up doing at New College. But you also talk with the CEO, which is our career center, about, okay, how can I design this as part of my program? What kinds of things can I do in terms of how I describe this when I'm putting together like my resume or my application for going on to graduate school or whatever it might be. And what is out there already where I don't have to design it from scratch, or where maybe I can at least start to make connections. So you want to think in a broader way so that you're not just focused on the research, which of course is the most important thing, but you're also thinking, how can I turn this into an important connection that's going to help me be able to leverage this so that if what I want to do later is this, it'll help me to get there. Or if I'm interested ultimately in going to work at another university, how is this something that can give me some sort of an entree to that? Or What if I wanted to learn eventually to be presenting research at conferences? Is this something I would be able to present maybe as a poster at one of the research conferences? So there are lots of different things that you can think about for that. And again, if you want us to put you in touch with faculty or with the Career Center to help you talk about some of these things with the people who actually do what you want to do, let us know. We're glad to be a resource to you. I understand the state determines testing requirements. Oh, are we being shut down? The testing sites. We don't know about the testing. We will let you know, I promise, if they change on that.
We do gotta end, but I want to thank you, Sonia and
so
Sharon,
much fun.
So
Thank
much
you.
for taking time out of your days to do this. Conversation definitely doesn't stop here. We will provide Sharon and Sonia with your contact information as well as the questions that were submitted throughout this presentation. So follow-up can happen. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have more sessions with CTCL through tomorrow evening. So if you're interested in registering for more sessions, and all of our recordings will be available on our website shortly. And as you exit the Zoom webinar, you will be taken to a quick survey. It's only 4 questions. So we'd love to hear your feedback. So I hope everyone has a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And thanks once again.
Thanks, CTCL.
Thank you.